that for a Sunday. Are we having a good weekend so far? Yeah. Awesome. All right, so we're about to get this panel underway. Before we do, there is a microphone in the crowd, so start thinking about your questions right now because this is a Q&A. So start thinking anything Fright Night, any questions you may have for the five of them. Are you guys ready to get this panel underway? Yeah. That's the energy I like. All right, here we go. Up first, we have Jonathan Starr. All right, up next we have Amanda Bearse. We have William Ragsdale. Give it up for Dorothy Fielding. And rounding out our panel, Geoffreys, everybody. Everyone have microphone, water? Oh yes, there's our tour water. Perfect, we're all set. How are you guys?
Great.
Good, wonderful.
No, it's been a great weekend, and thanks everybody for being willing to turn it around so quickly with the storm and come and find us a couple weeks later.
Thank you guys as well. I think we really needed this, right? This was super needed. How often do you guys have the opportunity to be reunited at conventions?
We probably do several a year, and sometimes, but rarely is it all of us. And of course, Chris Sarandon was supposed to be with us this trip, and he had other plans already scheduled. But then sometimes it's just a few.
We were at 2 weeks ago. We were up in Lexington. It was Tom Holland and Chris, the entire cast. It was really nice to have everybody together. We had a great time.
And we're
great time here
something.
too. We don't need everybody to have a great time, but it's always fun to have.
We're planning something for the 40th anniversary next year. I couldn't tell you who's planning it or what it's going to be.
Someone somewhere is
You're planning it, Dorothy.
been through this.
May it be so.
Well, that exists. Okay, so you mentioned Tom, and so I was very curious about what was it like working with Tom, and I wanted to know if you guys could confirm. I was reading that Tom had you all do these page about your backstories and all that while you were getting into character. Is that something he had you guys doing?
Yeah, we initially got we started out obviously as a small movie and sort of under the radar, and part of the luxury of that was that we didn't have a lot of studio interference. And Tom Holland, who wrote and directed it, comes from the theater, so he worked it out so that we would actually rehearse the film as a play. And blocked out the set and all that stuff and just kind of rehearsed it like we were going to put it up on the stage. And part of that rehearsal process was having us work on our biography and our backstory, and so that we could sort of see how we all got to where we were in the film. And that was one of the assignments, and everybody did a great job. Everybody sort of took it on.
Well, it was a real gift to have rehearsal. It's not typical. And especially when you have an effects laden at some moments in this film, it's nice to have that put aside and then just find the relationships and the connection and the story that way.
But I believe, Stephen, it was not Stephen's favorite thing, right, Stephen? What was that? It is not your favorite thing to do the history.
Yeah, when you're doing a play, of course, you have to have 6 weeks of rehearsal and all that stuff. But my experience with doing film is I'm pretty much right for the part when I walk in the door for the first time. But it doesn't hurt. It just gets you closer to the truth of the character, I guess, by writing it down. But I don't think that's necessary.
And how do you really feel about it?
I actually had none of that because I had 3 days work. Billy broke his leg, so I got an extra 10 weeks pay, which was very nice.
Thanks, Bill.
Because
Did I get 10 weeks pay?
You were working.
Oh.
Yeah. But basically, I'm the comic relief in the movie. So he called me in, I made a bunch of jokes, And that was it. I was hired, and then I showed up and did the work, and I had no idea until I started doing these last year that there had been this whole life for Fright Night without me.
We're learning together.
You were always with us in spirit, Dorothy. But that wouldn't happen without you all. And I've said this to a few of you who've come up to the table, that it's really the horror fans who are just the die-hard, loyal group of people, all walks of life, who have brought us together 20 years ago, and here we are 20 years later.
And the movie really belongs to you guys now. It really does, because you're the people who keep it going.
Thank you. I mean, it really is the perfect film that still holds up. I love the portrayal of the vampires. I love the look of the vampires, everything about it. What are all your thoughts on cryptids and vampires? Do any of you guys believe in that stuff?
I find vampire movies incredibly boring. I don't like them. I don't watch them.
He's more about vampire assistant movies, to be honest. Smaller ones.
Anything with Renfield in it, I'll watch.
The two things, and I grew up very near here in a little chunk of Winter Park, and the two things as a child that I was most afraid of were coral snakes. So you Floridians understand that, and vampires.
Now, Coral Snakes movie I'd watch.
I wanted to also ask, Amanda and Steven, you guys were working on another film right before this one, and then you just pivoted directly into Fright Night. What was that pivot like for you guys?
Yeah, we were working in Palm Springs on fraternity vacation, and thank you very much. And Amanda played my girlfriend, and we had a good time. And I got the script, and I went. Well, actually, yeah, I got the script. I read it, and I talked to my agent, and I said, yes, I can't wait to play the part of Brewster. And she said, no, you're playing his friend, Evil Ed. And I just could not believe it. I mean, I was really shocked. And then, yeah, I met Tom, Jackie Birch, all the, officials of the film, and got the part. And Amanda, how
We were wrapping for, okay, so perhaps Stephen was set up because the title of Fraternity Vacation was originally Wendell, which was the name of his character. So he's grand. So that's why, yeah, I'll do the lead, because why, let's just keep it going. No, but we were wrapping Fraternity Vacation, and I said, so what you got going, anything else happening? Yeah, I'm doing this little horror movie. I said, yeah, what's it called? Fright Night. I said, me too. That's how that happened, and then a few weeks later, we were back on set.
Yeah.
Another thing that I love so much about this film is the ability to balance both the horror elements and almost the humor of it. So what was that like for you guys, and was it difficult to balance the two?
Not for me, because I didn't have any humor at all. Yeah, no, I just sort of played it straight, and I think that that sort of helped other people be able to be light, because it's that dichotomy between, no, but I'm serious, this is really happening.
Because of you, the movie was so
I
good.
think that's why it
what you're
really
saying.
works, is because of me not being funny.
Thank you for
That's
helping
sort of
us.
the story of my career.
It's rather unsung, but really, Billy is the heart and soul, and of course, Roddy has an amazing presence in the film and what his character goes through. I mean, we all had very three-dimensional characters, but Billy did have to hold that, drive that train the entire film, and that takes a lot to do that. And so thanks, man. Thanks a lot.
Anytime.
Also, there, in the scene with Bill and what's his name, Lennox. When I auditioned, the whole stuff of this and all that was not in the script. And I decided I would probably do that because I thought if somebody is trying to make somebody look like an idiot, probably don't act suspicious. So that's what I did. And the thing is, I did it on the thing, and Bill played it perfectly, you know, and it worked so well. And even in the little scene when we were all together, and he tries to go out of the room and I block his way, I said, let me try this. He said, okay, cool. And it worked, you know, so we were all very open to, and Tom was too, to listening to ideas and trying things out, which was wonderful.
But it starts with the script. We've said this before. Tom is an amazing storyteller on the page and visually. And out of that is the humanity. And out, you know, even in the worst of times, there can be funny moments. So it's really about, I was trained as an improvisational actor, right? And everything was on the page. But it's our job to bring it to life. And, you know, what fun.
So you had mentioned that it was almost like a play. You did the rehearsals and then you shot it. Well, I'm not too familiar with it, but I saw that there is a stage adaptation of Fright Night. Can you guys tell us a little bit about it, and have you all seen it?
You've seen it, haven't you, John?
I have not seen it, no. Jim Schoberg, who's been a big fan, he's on Facebook, and he wrote a stage adaptation to the thing. I never have seen it, but it's been done 3 or 4 times in the around the United States, and I think he's got something else coming up with it. So, and Tom is totally on board with it. So it's, I guess I'd love to see it.
I think they did it here in Florida someplace, right? Or in
Recently.
Sarasota or someplace. Yeah, so it's a stage version of it, which I guess is sort of, you know, it's like Sherlock Holmes. People know it, but it's nice to see a fresh vision of it, I suppose.
I'd be curious to see like how they do the effects for the stage version, but I wanted to ask you guys about working with the incredible practical and effects for the film. What was that like for you guys, and what was it also like getting to see it the first time in a theater?
Go, Stephen, you had the worst of it in terms of the special effects.
You're asking how the excitement and the passion that the makeup guys had was so infectious that it kind of eased the pain, you know, of having to sit in a chair for hours and hours and hours. And you know, I knew that the final product was gonna be pretty special. And but it was tough, and the contacts were the worst. They had these hard plastic things that they actually stuck in your eye, and it was very uncomfortable. And like about 2 or 3 weeks later, after the movie finished, they came out with the real soft ones that don't hurt at all, so that kind of sucked.
Yeah, I had a pair, and I didn't wear contact lenses, so it was kind of an alien feeling anyway, and you had just this pinhole of sight out of each one, and I had 3 different pairs as the character, the monster, you know, emerged, and the last pair was really giving me fits. And they put them in at the last minute before we start rolling. It wasn't like I had to walk around with them all day, but it was just giving me fits. And I'm not a squeaky wheel, or I wasn't then. And I didn't really want to, you know, halt anything, but it got to the point where I had to say something, and they took them out and realized they hadn't sanded. They're painted, and they hadn't sanded the back of it. So I gave Steve Johnson fits about that. Never lived that down. But, you know, again, pays to raise your hand and say, excuse me, problem. And I didn't have it like Stephen did. I only had to do the big mouth a couple of times. And it was a last minute thing. I think I've talked with some of you about that Tom realized he needed a moment that he didn't have. So they turned that whole thing around in about 48 hours. And it was effective.
Mine was, I did some minor special effects on set with the stake and, you know, the bloody thing, but mine was a nightmare because I had to go to a warehouse in Santa Monica after the film was shot and stand there for 3 hours while they pumped green slime and red Caro syrup, which stood in for blood, and it just ran down, and I was covered with green slime, and I said to them afterwards, I said, hey, just show me where the shower is. Like, oh man, our plumbing's gone. You got. I say, I have to drive home like this? Yeah, man. So I'm driving home and I'm on the Santa Monica freeway. Just wanted to get home and realizing I'm not gonna make it. I don't have enough gas. So I've got to go to a gas station. And I wasn't gonna pump it myself. So the guy comes out, he looks at me like, hey, how much? And he literally stops. And we didn't say anything. And then it just said, $10 worth. And that was it. But it was mine, in the warehouse thing, it was.
He probably would have filled it up for you if you
Yeah.
And also, what was it like seeing the movie in the theater for the first time?
Well, you have an industry screening, right? And that was the first time we saw it all cut together. But it's not a real audience. It's a very judgy, it still was well received because it was a good story, good storytelling. But we went then later to Hollywood Boulevard and saw it at a theater there with real people, and it was a totally different experience. And we were on the roller coaster ride that story takes you on. And that made it pretty spectacular for us.
It was great, and also Steven shot his wolf stuff and the thing with Roddy in the Brewster home after we had all kind of wrapped, so we didn't know anything about that. The same thing with Jonathan for his melting guy. We didn't know any. I mean, it was in the script, but until you see what's going on, you don't really have an awareness of it. So that was fun, seeing all of that come together. Things we weren't even really privy to in the shooting of it. So that was good.
It's like you got to experience it like how we did.
Yeah, exactly. We were audience members. So.
That's awesome. So if it's okay with you guys, we do have a microphone for whatever questions y'all might have. I encourage you, now is your chance. Any willing victims? Hey, friend.
Oh, yeah.
What's your name?
Hi, I'm Jim. I love being first.
Hey, Jim.
Okay, this is going to be an unusual question, but I will never forgive myself if I don't ask it, because all of you are so intimately close to the story, and this has been eating at me since 1985.
Wow.
So I've seen so many ideas thrown around online, and this is, I welcome everybody to chime in, but this is mostly directed to Jonathan. So,
I know what the question is. What was I?
yeah, what were you?
I don't know.
Neither does Tom.
They paid me to stand there and do the lines, and I got a paycheck, and then I went home. But what? Okay.
Be a
I'm
pro.
sorry. Anyway, they paid me to stand there and do the lines, and I went home. But Tom Holland, I keep asking Tom because he's the one that wrote it, and he goes first. He go, "Well, you're a ghoul," and then it's like, "Oh, you were." Something else, and there this. I said, well, just land on something and tell people, because I don't know what it was, but I think whatever you want it to be. There's also the question where was it a gay relationship between Jerry and Billy? And I don't know. We didn't actually think about that during filming, but if that's what you want to make it, fine. So I don't know.
It's a creature awaiting some sort of mythology to go along with it.
It could be seen in daylight.
And I think that's what makes the movie so good, is that he lets it be open to your interpretation of what it is, instead of just shoving the meaning down your throat, but it's kind of subjective to what you might believe or think it is. I think that makes it better.
You need a creepy thing with no explanation. So that's the thing. That was you.
Awesome. I'm choosing to believe you were a golem. So, there we go. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
There you go. Now he doesn't have to wonder for another however many years. Thank you, Jim. Hey, what's your name?
My name is Jessica, and I was wondering for each of you, what was your favorite line to say in the film?
I actually have written this to people. I liked because I could really throw it out there because I knew evil was back there somewhere. And, Amy's kind of marching and taking charge in that moment, and it's, cut it out, evil! Not funny!
For me, I mean, there's a lot of them, but the scene where I go to Peter Vincent in the parking lot where he's just been fired, and I try to, convince him. I'm trying to be polite. I'm trying to be, respectful and all that stuff. But then at some point, I just sort of say, "Yeah, I believe in vampires, and I have one next door, and I want to kill him. Help me kill him." And Roddy's sort of take of like, "Oh, okay," because just seconds before he had been, sort of angry that he got fired because people don't believe in vampires anymore. So that sort of turn is always fun to watch, just because I like the dialogue, I guess. Please.
What's your name?
Who else has a favorite line?
Steven, you must.
You like the Valium line, Dorothy.
Yeah, that was her creation too, right? That was a.
My actual favorite creation was the first line I think I say, I hate making cocoa in the microwave. It never melts the marshmallows right. I have had long discussions with people about how to make cocoa.
Pros and cons. I think my favorite line, my favorite scene is when I'm knocking on Roddy McDowell's apartment door, after I had been bitten, and I say, "Hurry up, open up, there's a vampire out here." And of course, it's kind of a loaded response, because there really is a vampire.
You're not wrong.
And then I come in and I go, and
He
what
said-
are you gonna do? I love that whole scene.
I don't have a favorite line. I mean, "Hey Kid" was the first one I came on screen with, but every line, there was never a line in it that felt awkward or weird to me. So
I like your line when Roddy says, "Perhaps he didn't hear you." You go, "Oh, he heard me."
that was pretty brilliant,
Yeah,
right?
it was brilliant.
Hey, what's your name?
My name is Devin Colin. First off, I'd like to say, love all of you so much. Fright Night was like the first vampire movie that my mother ever introduced me to, and amazing. Like, you guys, so awesome. My question was, I was wondering, how was all of your experience with working with Roddy during the entire experience of everything?
Billy got him the most, right? Or you too, Stephen. You had a lot of work with them.
Yeah, I was scared to death, when I found out he was doing it, but, when I first met him, he just kind of made you relax and feel at home, and he was very sweet, very generous. But yeah, it took a couple of hours or whatever to get over the fact that, I was doing a movie with Cornelius. Wow. But he was a sweetheart and very, very professional, which always, that's always nice.
Yeah, he was for who he was, and starting out, 6 years old or whatever as an actor, and who he knew, and the stories he knew, and the history he knew and was part of. That part of it was like really kind of daunting a little bit, even though it was exciting. But as a person, he was so just one of the gang, and just a member of the cast, and there was never any moment of pretentiousness or a power play about, Roddy McDowell doesn't do that, or whatever. He was there playing with us, and he really did, especially the kids and newcomers, really just made us feel like an equal. And at that point in his career, for him to do that, I think was a real testament to him as a person. He was a great, generous, fun guy.
Whenever you're doing a show, a movie or a television show, the cast always tends to look to the stars. And between Chris and Roddy, it was like a blessing for us, because they were just the best, and they were giving. There was never a moment when they didn't give 100%, and they were always so accommodating and nice and willing to try stuff. It was perfect.
And really focused on the story. I think everybody was. Everybody as their character, and as actors were focused on what's going to make this story better. And for Roddy and Chris. That was, to have them lead in that way was easier, made it really easy
It
for us to
makes it
follow.
safe, because that's very important to when you bring your own vulnerability as a performer into a performance, and it's really a gift again to have that kind of environment where you feel safe. And I was in some vulnerable situations with Chris, and he was lovely to me, just a true gentleman. I can't say the same about that there, but yeah.
Yeah, I know. We all felt it.
Well, I mean, like, the line, like, the dinner is in the oven is literally what I describe when I'm cooking. So, like, you live rent-free in my head. So, like, thank you for that.
You wear the red wig too?
No, I don't have the Raggedy Ann wig. It'd be really cool, though. Thank you guys so much.
Hey, what's your name?
My name is Lewis. I'm a big fan of the film. I have a question for William. How's your experience in Fright Night 2, and how's it different from like working with like the original film? Also, a general question: what's your guys' thoughts on the reboot, like remake film?
Yeah, well, on the sequel, we didn't have rehearsal. We didn't have Tom Holland, so we didn't have a sense of that kind of bonding that happened with the original. On the other hand, I mean, Roddy and I had done the original, so we knew that it was going, that it could work, that the characters worked, and it was possible to believe in their world and all of that stuff. So that part was nice, but and it's the sort of the essence of a sequel is trying to recapture stuff that happened before, and I don't know that Fright Night 2 did that, but it sort of over the years has become its own thing as well in a little different way with some different elements. So it was good. It was nice to have Roddy there. And sort of whatever that is. Hope and Crosby, I don't know. You pick it up.
I don't know. I had a great time on the film.
Yeah, you were making TV money at that point. But so it was fine, and hopefully it will get some sort of re-release or something. And it's
That was Tommy Lee Wallace?
Tommy Lee Wallace. Yes, it was.
It's about the remake, the one with Colin Farrell, who I love. I think he's just brilliant. And when I watched it, I didn't care that I wasn't in it, but what I really cared about, and I've learned a lot about that as I've been a writer, that what was missing was the engine that drives the whole film is Roddy's quest to become brave, or to become the person to quit being a coward. And that's why we all watch it, because we want him to be successful. And they didn't have that in the character of Peter Vincent in the remake. To me, he was just kind of a loser, and I didn't care about him. So that, to me, is why the movie wasn't all that great. But there were some good things in it. I didn't hate it.
It doesn't really have a relationship to the original. As a standalone horror film, it was good. I mean, you have a great cast, but it's kind of one dark note throughout the whole thing. And Chris put it, I think, rightly, so that it was more of a reimagining than a remake. And it was delightful when I went to see it with my daughter, and all of a sudden Sarandon came up on screen. And it was funny. It was really one of my favorite scenes.
I went to see it. I called up Bill and said, let's go see it. It'd been out for 2 weeks. We went into the theater and there's literally no one there. And they were taking the poster down. Well, this is probably not a good thing.
But Colin was a huge fan of the original and was shaking in his boots to meet Chris on set, brought him like a bottle of champagne or something, and said, my sister and I watched this 50 times in our childhood. So it's really sweet that, and he is an amazing actor. It's just not the same.
Yeah.
Not the same.
Thank you.
Hey.
Hello, my name's Michael. The lady before me stole my question about Roddy McDowell, so you go to part 2. Growing up, I grew up in LA, and I used to watch Sinister Seymour, He was the Peter Vincent of LA, you know, the local horror host. Nowadays you can see Svengoolie, he's nationwide now, he's out of Chicago. But I was wondering, did you guys have, growing up, did you watch, did you have, wherever you lived, did you have a local horror host? Were you into that kind of thing? Did you enjoy that, you know, growing up?
I don't think we had it in Central Florida, I don't recall. But like I said, I already had a preconceived notion of vampires, so I would not have been watching.
Yeah, we didn't have that. I grew up in a little town in Arkansas, and we didn't have anything close to that. But what we did have was one theater, and so if you wanted to see a movie, you had to go to that theater and see that movie, you know. And they would have Friday night sort of horror, you know, double features and things like that. And so that's sort of where I got into. I saw some of the original Hammer stuff there. I saw Count Yorga. Dr. Phibes, you know, I mean, some of that 70s kind of almost Tarantino-like, you know, horror stuff. So that and Night Gallery as well. But yeah, we didn't really have any sort of real. But
Did they have television in Arkansas?
Well, you could get it, yeah, sometimes. But
I couldn't even watch Dark Shadows. Do any of you know that series? Yeah. And that was
I love
4
Dark
o'clock.
Shadows.
Yeah, that was 4 o'clock after school. But I couldn't watch it.
We had Count Mordecai for Chiller Theater, and sometimes we could get Pittsburgh stations, because I'm from Erie, Pennsylvania, and sometimes we could get Pittsburgh stations, and Chilly Billy Cardell would be on those. And that was always fun, because I couldn't wait, and I can remember anticipating watching Them, which was still the ones that freaked me out when I was a kid. If you haven't seen Them with James Whitmore, it's great. But that was our guy.
That's cool. Well, Dr. Phibes is going to be on Svengoolie next weekend, just so you know.
Oh,
check it out.
wonderful.
So,
We need to get Svengoolie to spooky. That's what we need, right? What's your name?
Hi, I'm Alex. This question was mostly for Steven. You like perfectly captured that kind of geeky, eccentric kid that I feel like a lot of people either were growing up or like you knew. Did you have like inspiration behind that, or was that just like you? You had such an iconic laugh and everything.
I think it was just the whole thing combined. You know, Tom's script just kind of laid it out beautifully to begin with, and I guess he and Jackie Birch, the casting director, I would say they did a good job in finding someone who could embrace that character and bring it to life, which, to be honest, no, that a lot of what I have never laughed like that in my entire life. That is, in fact, I think the first, or one of the scenes that I was doing, I asked Tom if I could either tone down or not even do the laugh. And, you know, he kind of shook me and said, "Oh my God, no, you got to do this." I mean, I didn't see the importance in it, but, you know, you do your job as an actor and fulfill the wishes of the director and writer. And so, yeah, I would say it was a combination of acting and writing and special effects, so.
But I would say too, Stephen, over the years as I've gotten to know you since the movie, there's parts of you I see that are Evil Ed. There really are. And I'm not talking that he's an idiot or crazy like Evil Ed, but I don't know if anybody else could have brought that to that role.
Yeah, I think that, I mean, there's a subconscious part of everybody's personality that, you know, is different from the other you know, it's your uniqueness, I guess. I don't know.
I think Evil Ed would have bought the VIP ticket for a horror con. I think Evil Ed would be a VIP ticket.
3 days, yeah.
3 days,
You've been
every
an
day.
assistant.
First guy in the door.
I also think that
Even though everybody probably identifies with Billy because he's the hero, the ostensible hero at least, the one in Jeopardy and blah, blah, blah. But pretty much everyone I know who's into horror films knows what it's like to be frightened and lonely and unloved and picked on by other people and feel weird and different and try to pretend that you're not. And that's just my feeling, but there's a way that that's what we unconsciously identify with, even though we're consciously going with the hero. And you know, that's what you captured, however you fucking did it. It's amazing.
Mom, you cursed. Well, but it's also in the script, the scene with Chris and Stephen in the alley. It's the words that Jerry Dandridge says to him.
They won't make fun of you anymore?
Right.
Yeah.
I'll see to that.
Thank you so much.
All right, we have a few minutes left, and these are going to be our final 2 questions. What's your name?
Hi, my name is Joshua. As professionals who've worked and acted in the film industry, in particular horror, I'm genuinely curious, how tempting is it throughout the years to dress up as one of your own characters? For like Halloween, or just a random Tuesday, I guess.
Never.
Yeah, that'd be a big no for me too.
Just wear a jacket.
He's dressed like right now.
I haven't, really. I mean, there are other characters I sort of more identify, or what, you know, I could see myself doing that. I went, 2 years ago, I went for Halloween, my family was invited to a party, so I went as Fred Rogers. So, thank you. Thank you.
They gave me my wardrobe, so I basically wore them just as clothes, and then finally ended up giving away the selfie shirt.
Thank you.
Hey, what's your name?
My name's Irish. I just had a question. I was a little curious. What happened to the Mustang? That was a sweet Mustang.
That was Tom's car. Tom had an assistant, Hal, who was sort of his man Friday a little bit, and but also was a mechanic, and Tom was very into the muscle cars at that time. So that was actually his
Was
car.
that the same car that the truck backed up into? Or was that different? No, he had a Shelby too, didn't he?
Yeah.
That was a Shelby.
Well, that
I
was
think.
a Shelby.
I think so. Yeah.
No, but
Yeah.
he had another one.
He had a couple of cars. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
I was going to say we actually would have time for one more question if there's anyone else that last minute wants to get a question in. Now would be your chance. All right.
Did you guys keep anything from the film, any props or costumes or anything?
Somehow I ended up with my boobs. And I did. No, I was a little bit skinnier back in the day, and Tom wanted, in that white dress, which I wish I had kept, something voluptuous to have happened. So that was a moment like we did with special effects guys, when I had to just go to a warehouse and just go, all right, and take off my shirt, and then they start putting plaster on me, very, okay. And I ended up with them, I have no idea why, in a candy box, sat on my closet shelf until 20 years ago when we started doing these, and I'm like, oh, I should bring those out.
We were sitting on the table.
Yeah, I wish I kept my fangs.
She auctioned them off, actually. There was an auction.
Yeah, did anybody ever see the film Silence of the Lambs? Okay, so the guy who bought them, what's the name of the character that's...
Buffalo Bill?
Thank you. So I don't know really what happened to them after.
I kept the skull. I don't know why, because when we were done with the film, nobody assumed we would ever use it again. But I just kept it as a memento, and I had it in the house for a while. My wife's like, "Nah, you got to get that out of the house." So it sat in the garage for years, and Tom kept bugging me, "Where is it?" I finally found it and gave it to Tom because he has the bat. He has Stephen's wolf thing. He's got original Chucky's that he used also. His house is like a museum.
I really didn't know to do that. I mean, I really didn't know that you kind of could. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. I wish I had my fangs, because I had 3 sets of contacts and 3 sets of fangs. And then I might have worn them out for Halloween.
But there's the portrait of the woman from the Vampire's Past who looks like you, right? That we discovered when we go over to the house, and I think Tom said that turned up in England someplace.
It was an auction, on a prop auction.
He bid on it, but
it went for like $25,000 or something like that. So it's in England, probably in an old castle now over the corner.
maybe with my boobs.
But yeah,
I wish I still had my sleeping mask.
Well, thank you guys so much. This has been such an honor having you guys at this event. Are you guys heading back to your tables for a little bit?
We will.
Yeah, we're going back.
Cool. So any questions you guys didn't get to or anything you guys wanted to get signed, make sure to go visit them one more time, everybody. For the
Thank you guys so much for having us.
I need to kindly ask everybody to exit the room so we can get ready for the final panel of the day.